whether the ethics, whether self-driving cars themselves are ethical, but rather in once self-driving cars are on the market, because we can't reduce the probability of an accident to zero, how do they respond in the event of an unavoidable accident? And there's different ethical frameworks that could be chosen, as we'll explain.
And now you know what a Bronx accent sounds like. Here we go.
Very refined. Do I just hit start?
I think I did. Is it counting down?
No. Do I just hit start? Good morning. We are the IBECC Consulting Group, and we are here to advise you, the Google Board of Directors, on how Google should program its self-driving car software to react in the event of an accident. Some of you may have heard of the trolley problem, a classic moral exercise used in ethical discourse. A trolley races down a track with 5 innocent people tied to it. If you had the power to pull a switch, sending the trolley instead down a track with 1 innocent person tied to it, would you? This question has been hotly debated for over 50 years, and yet there has never been one single right answer determined. This is not only because it is nearly impossible to determine the value of an individual's life, or who deserves to die over another, but it is also extremely unsettling to think that we have that responsibility. This is the challenge that Google is being faced with today. As we will explain, self-driving cars will be incredibly safe in comparison to regular cars. But reducing the probability of an accident to zero is impossible. In accidents that occur today, drivers make split-second decisions based on instinct alone. But due to the nature of a self-driving car, these decisions must now be pre-programmed. How should the car be designed to react? Should the car make a calculation that minimizes casualties? Should the car be programmed to prioritize vulnerable groups of society, such as children or the elderly? Should the car be programmed to protect its passengers in the event of an accident? While Google's challenge in determining how to program its self-driving cars differs from the traditional trolley problem, it still incites the same debate over the valuation of lives. Due to the impending entrance of self-driving cars into the market, Google must choose a framework for its self-driving cars to abide by in the event of an accident. We are here to offer our recommendation to you, the Board of Directors, based not only on your need to maximize shareholder value, but the need to maximize value for all stakeholders associated with this revolutionary product.
To isolate this dilemma, we made 2 assumptions. The first is that the car's decision-making capacity is flawless. It cannot break down, and it is impervious to hacking. The second is that the car is completely autonomous with no input from the passenger. Moving forward, these assumptions have 2 implications. In the rare event of an accident, the cause must be external, and therefore the passenger is also blameless. Moving forward, it becomes necessary to analyze and evaluate the different frameworks that could be embedded into the self-driving car. A framework that would seek to reduce the number of casualties would treat all lives equally and make its decision on numbers alone. However, this could put the passenger of the self-driving car at risk. A framework that seeks to prioritize vulnerable groups in society could favor groups such as pregnant women, children, or the elderly. However, this could result in inherently favoring certain demographics over the other, which is ethically unsound. A framework that seeks to place the passenger first in the event of an unavoidable accident would do anything in its power to avoid harm to the passenger of the self-driving car. Is this, however, self-centered?
So those are the 3 options that Google has the opportunity to embed into the self-driving car. So let's just imagine a hypothetical example to see how these different options would play out. A self-driving car is forced into a situation in which an accident is unavoidable, with pedestrians emerging onto a road. The car has 2 options. It could either hit the pedestrians in order to prioritize the safety of its passengers, or it could swerve and avoid harming the pedestrians at the expense of its passengers' safety. So what decision would the car make? Does it matter if there's 5 pedestrians crossing the road and only 1 passenger in the car? How would the decision change if we somehow learned that there were 5 pedestrians had just robbed a bank? What if instead of being 1 passenger in the car, it was a mother and her 3 children? Does that change who should be spared? There are an infinite amount of examples, scenarios that we could come up with, and there's no single way that we could perform cost-benefit analysis for every single one of these scenarios and come up with a single framework that works for all of them. Instead, we need to take a step back and look at a bigger picture. How are we going to perform a cost-benefit analysis to maximize welfare for society as a whole? We not only have a duty to our shareholders to capture as much value as possible in this nascent multi-billion-dollar opportunity, but as you'll see, we also have a duty to put as many self-driving cars on the road for the following reasons. Road traffic accidents are the #1 killer of people under the age of 25 worldwide. There are 5.5 million accidents in the US alone every year, and 93% of these accidents are caused by human error, whether it's speeding or driving while tired or impaired. By removing the human from the driving process, self-driving cars can eliminate these 93% of accidents that were caused by human error. And in the process, they stand to save 20,000 lives in the US alone every year. They can generate more than $400 billion in economic savings. They can increase road capacity by up to 300%. They can expand access to transport for the 1 billion disabled and elderly people in the world. And they can improve productivity immensely for a commuting workforce. Essentially, Google has the opportunity to do well by doing good. If we can sell more cars, we can maximize social good for a society that has become desensitized to senseless traffic deaths. Through our analysis, we've concluded that there is only one way to get this many cars on the road. Google must choose one of the 3 frameworks that will lead to the greatest amount of market adoption. They must choose the framework that's most appealing to a mass market.
We recommend that Google embed the passenger-first framework in its self-driving cars. We can put self-driving cars on the road. The power to save hundreds of thousands of lives is in our hands, but we can only do this by putting the passenger first. On a case-by-case basis, the passenger-first framework is not the obvious choice. It is seemingly self-centered, but we must remember that we are looking at the big picture. We are trying to get self-driving cars on the road. We are trying to eliminate 93% of accidents, and we are trying to prevent over 400,000 deaths caused by traffic accidents worldwide. But you may be wondering, how will a passenger-first framework lead to the greatest amount of market adoption? Perceptions are vitally important when unveiling a new product to the world. And polls from BCG, AutoTrader, and Insurance.com demonstrate that safety is the #1 concern of the general public regarding self-driving cars. In fact, 52% of people believe that self-driving cars are dangerous for the passenger, with over a quarter saying that they would never buy a self-driving car. So if the barrier for the majority of the public is the perception that self-driving cars are dangerous, we believe that a passenger-first framework has the ability to assuage consumer doubts by ensuring that the car will protect the car owner and his or her loved ones above anybody else under any circumstance. For potential consumers of self-driving cars, the passenger-first framework is the safest framework. While all proposed frameworks will dramatically reduce the likelihood of getting in an accident, only a passenger-first framework can convince consumers that in the unlikely event of an unavoidable accident, the car will do all in its power to protect its blameless passengers.
You have a little more than 1 minute.
Oh, okay. In conclusion, because of the innumerable benefits to society of self-driving cars, choosing a framework that encourages a high rate of market adoption will ultimately create the greatest number of social good. By prioritizing safety for the passengers of self-driving vehicles, Google can make the intimidating concept of no control palatable to the mass market. Self-driving technology will bring about societal benefits increasingly as it reaches critical mass adoption. The passenger-first framework is the most marketable framework, and the most marketable framework is the most ethical framework. Thank you.
Thank you.